Miss Johnson, are you able to hear us?
Yes.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Just make sure my video works. It's really slow. Well, I guess you don't have to see me. I've been on for like hours, like just sitting, just waiting in case. So I don't know if that's why. I should rejoin somehow.
This conference will now be recorded.
Yes, sir. I'll make my way to the chair. So y'all remember the delegate that everybody ready? Oops. All right, very well. I'll call the Madison County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Would everybody stand and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much. Let the record show that we do have a quorum. So the first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. So are there any changes anybody has up here on the board, or Jonathan?
Get my microphone working. No changes, Mr. Chairman, but I think it would be good to clarify, as you point out, when you, board members, when you get through your consent agenda item, sometimes we have supplemental appropriations that are broken down individual. Since these were two grants, there are two rolled into one. So if you have questions when we get there, that's fine, but that was something new from where we ventured before, so.
All right, that's just for clarification, that's good. Otherwise, I entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the agenda.
Second. Very well, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and nay. Okay, motion carries. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is public comment. Anybody, this is just general public comment. Anybody can get up and speak on any subject that you wish to do so. Okay, what you got back there, Alan?
We have Miss Johnson online, but I believe she's presenting later on, sir.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, we'll close the public comment. We'll do it again at the end of the meeting as well. Next, we have the constitutional officers, county departments, committees, and organizations' monthly reports. As I asked last time, if you would give your name and what constitutional office you hold or county department you hold, because the general public oftentimes does not know that. And also, since we've got a pretty full agenda tonight, we've got your reports in our package here, 296 pages worth of it. And so anything that you wish to add on top of what we have already seen is fine. Otherwise, don't feel compelled to go through, line by line or anything. So, all right. So if you would grab a mic, Alan, and get it rolling. Good.
So
Oh, you want to start?
I can certainly
All right.
start.
Your name, sir?
Alan Berry. I'm the Director of IT for the county. I guess the only additional thing that I would add to our board report is Mr. Smith completed his CompTIA Server Plus certification. So in addition to everything there, he is now certified on multiple levels.
All right.
Ready to answer any questions if you have any.
We got Tyler straightened out now?
As best we can. It's a daily thing.
You know, I think everybody's got their W-2s and stuff now, right? So we got that going for us.
Yep, we had it was the content manager service. It was a struggle, but yes, everything is where it needs to be with the W-2s and the pay stubs now.
Okay. Questions?
I just have one.
Yeah.
Alan, where are you at on the Hyper-V migration, or have you started that?
So we have approved what was quoted to us by Magnify. Where we're at is, if you remember, I believe at the January meeting, I informed the board that we could not proceed with the server migration until we had a Dell technician come on site to install the processors. Otherwise, we void our warranty with Dell. That technician has not arrived yet. We are badgering them daily to hurry up and get here, but so far, no technician has showed up.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Alan, if you would pass it along.
So, Tracy Gardner, Economic Development and Tourism. The only thing I didn't have on my report is Thursday, I have an Innovation Corridor meeting I'm on the advisory board for that at North Fork. And the company they've hired is going to be going over their findings and what we can do. And for us, it's the 29 corridor. There's also a sites characterization grant forum that I'm going to attend on March 16th. And there may be some grant money via the Central Virginia Partnership and Go Virginia, so I'm constantly looking at that. And then the only other thing was the Greater Piedmont Realtor Association asked that I pass along, and I'm sure Kim sent it to you too, the housing gap analysis that's being held at the Laurel Ridge Community Center or College in Warrenton, March 23rd. So I signed up for it, but they said it would be good for anyone interested on the board or the planning commission as well.
What was that again? The March 23rd, what?
March 23rd, Monday.
Yeah. Monday.
And Dr. Lisa Sturdivant, and I've heard her speak before. She's a very good speaker. And other than that, everything else is on my report.
Questions for Tracy from the board?
But I have a comment.
All right.
Tracy, you gave these figures at the previous EDC meeting we just had prior to this meeting about how much a visitor spends.
Oh, yes.
I thought those were very interesting stats.
So we've had our Toast Virginia grant, which is trying to help the wineries, and some of the visitation has been down. We have learned that a normal overnight stay without wine involved is $600. A person that's coming to visit wineries, they tend to stay longer and they spend about $1,400. And it's agritourism, so yes. And I did forget to mention too, Purely Piedmont at the Rapidan Regional Commission is going for an APHID grant of $30,000 as well. And that's the farmers and tourism aspect of that too. And I did forget one more thing, sorry.
Yeah.
Right before I came, if anyone is interested in direct service from Charlottesville to Boston, they're having a free lunch meeting at North Fork on February 27th. And if anyone's interested, I can send it to you.
Please.
Just trying to get, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
If I may. Tracy, is that $1,400, is that over 2 days or just one day?
That's an overnight visitor, that's a per night,
They're spending $1,400 for one night.
on average, yes.
We gotta show them to the wineries.
Give them 2 days.
Let's put a sign on 29.
Anything else for Tracy?
Detour.
I don't know.
All right.
That's right.
Good afternoon, Board. All our reports are in the report I submitted to you. I just wanted to point out just two things. Next month, DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation, is promoting the Flood Awareness Week. They do this annually, because as everyone knows, flooding is the #1 natural disaster in Virginia and the country. And then permit-wise, we issued 71 new permits, 316 inspections were performed, and last month it was 3 new dwellings permits were issued for. And then everything else is in the report for you to see.
Question for Jamie?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Annette Dotson, Animal Shelter Manager. I just have a couple things. First off, I wanted to take a moment and let everyone know, some of you didn't know her, some of you did. On January the 24th, the shelter lost one of its most dedicated employees. Tammy Owens started with the county on September the 1st of '07. She retired due to medical issues on May the 10th of '22. She gave the county 15 years. She loved every minute of it. You either liked her or you didn't. There was kind of no in between with Tammy. And she is actually the one that taught me everything about the shelter when I first started many years ago. So this spring or summer, I was thinking about planting a tree or something, just in her memory. I think she would love it. And I think everybody that knew her that visited the shelter would also enjoy that also. So I just want to let you guys know. I completed and submitted the shelter report for the state. You guys have my numbers. So in-house at the moment, I have 2 cats, 6 dogs, 2 of which go home this evening after surgery. I have 4 puppies adopted in homes waiting for their surgery, and 1 dog in foster care. That's all I've got.
Right. Excellent.
Thank you.
Anything for Annette?
No, sir.
Yeah, just, if we do the tree planting, yeah, contact me. I'll certainly contribute to that. That was,
Yeah, will too.
all right.
Ashley Richards, Director of 911. I don't believe you have my numbers. I did not get them in time because I was on the boat.
That's right, yep.
But between home phones, wireless phones, and administrative calls, total calls through the center for the month of January was 3,017. And total calls for service for the month was 992, and that's up from 949 from January of 2025. So still looking for training coordinator and another communications officer position. We've had a lot of interviews. We're getting in a lot of applications, but nobody wants to work night shift or weekends, and that's kind of what the deal is. So we're still looking. And then we've got grant funding to have a new floor installed, and we've purchased the materials, and the flooring company has the materials, and we're just kind of at a standstill of the best way to proceed because the consoles cannot be moved
Yeah, the
easily, if
interruption.
at all. So, yeah. So we're just trying to see what the best way to proceed with that is, and hopefully when it warms up in the spring, we'll get it taken care of. I did apply for 2 grants. I think it was about 2 weeks ago now. I haven't heard back. One is for, it's called a PEP grant. It's for continuing education for dispatchers. It helps pay for classes that they want to take, any conferences that they go to, and then also a GIS grant, which helps pay for our the GIS company that we use to for our data. So both of those are 5,000. I should hear back within the next week. So, and then Jennifer Shiflett, the assistant director, she would like to talk to y'all about our QA. That should be in the report.
So Jennifer Shiflett, Assistant Director of 911. So we recently got back our QA, or Quality Assurance Annual Report for 2025. So QA is essentially how we check that 911 calls and dispatch activity, they are being handled correctly and consistently. It looks at things like information gathered, protocols that are followed, as well as how decisions are made in an instant on a phone call. So our goal with QA is never to really catch mistakes. It's more so to make sure that we are consistent across the board. So to keep things unbiased and fair, we do use a third party that conducts these evaluations. And I am proud to say that For the entire year of 2025, every single month, our dispatchers were in high compliance with national standards. So on the very last page of that report that I submitted, you'll see what, going down just a little bit. Anyway, Nina and companies like that, there you go. It shows what the difference between high compliance and then all the way down to non-compliant is. And like I said, every single month, QA for law enforcement call handling, EMS call handling, fire call handling, as well as law enforcement dispatch, we are in high compliance every single month. I'm really proud of my team for achieving those numbers. It really shows to their dedication to the public. Does anybody have any questions?
Very good. Questions for Jennifer? No? Good. Thank you.
All good?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
Great Cave Animal Control. You have my report. I would like to add, at our last meeting, Mr. Jewett brought up about the livestock ordinance. We actually used that last month by issuing a citation, which so far it seemed to correct the issue. So, and then I am losing Mr. Collier to Greene County. So we have advertised that. We had a lot of people apply. We started the interview process yesterday, and we're hoping to fill that position very soon.
So Greg, what's the likelihood you find somebody that doesn't have to go through a certification process? Slim?
Yes, very slim.
And that process take how long? 6 months?
Well, we would put them through training,
Yeah.
but the academy takes 3 weeks.
Oh, 3 weeks, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better.
We got a finalist, Mr. Chairman. We're going to try to work out the salary and benefit package on, so hopefully we can move on that quickly. Mr. Collier's last day, I believe, is the 13th.
Correct.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, questions for Mr. Cave? Yeah.
Just real quick, so I don't know if it's for Annette or for Mr. Cave, but because of the extreme cold temperatures, we had any issues with how animals were kept or any rash of like problems?
We received a couple welfare checks on animals and wildlife calls. So I did speak to DWR biologists. They did explain when you see a deer just standing in the field, we received a lot of calls with them standing on the side of the road. They're just very tired. They're trying to get their, catch their breath, and it's very hard, difficult this time of the year with the ice conditions and stuff, just trying to find something to eat. So, but yeah.
No issues with our domestic animals?
Yeah, they're all migrating down to my place.
Yeah.
Yeah, we received a couple calls about welfare checks with the temperatures being below 32 degrees. And then we have to ride out, and explain to them what corrections that they need to take.
Anything else for Mr. Cave? All right, thank you, Greg.
Brian Daniel, Commissioner of the Revenue. Good afternoon. Just a little bit of setback with the assessors picking up new construction, obviously with access to places with the snow and ice. And, that shouldn't impact anything, but just give you an update. They were pushed back, so you may still see them going around later on next upcoming weeks. Other than that, just business as usual.
Questions for Brian? So you're going to be here through the CPACE presentation, Brian?
I can be.
Yeah, I've got a question that during that presentation that I'd like to get your opinion on. If you would, it shouldn't be too long.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Noah Hillstrom, Chief of EMS. You guys have my report. I'd like to publicly recognize fire, EMS, law enforcement. We have been busy, busy, busy. Dispatch, we've all come together. At the bottom of my report, community has come together. We've had folks come out and help plow and get ambulances to where we needed to get to, and it was just really nice to see it and appreciated. I'm happy to answer any questions. One of the biggest changes is our local EMS council is now the Rappahannock EMS Council. The exercise there was to go from 11 councils down to 7 to be more efficient. And that's all I got, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Questions for Noah? None? Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Sheriff?
Good afternoon, gentlemen, ladies on the board. You have a copy of my activities for January in your package, so I'm open to any questions you may have. The chairman said to move along quickly, and that's what I've done. So, any questions?
Has everything been quiet in your arena?
It's
Sheriff?
been ups and downs. That's
Yeah.
correct. Ups and downs.
How's the staffing in your side?
I've lost 3 people in the last 3 months to an adjoining county. I have 2 people in the academy, as you know. That's once again in the academy. It's about a 2-year process, so it's been a challenge.
Questions for the sheriff?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Henry, we don't typically call on you, but give us your name and who you're with for everybody, for
Yes,
the
sir.
record.
I'm Jeff Henry. I'm with Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. I'm the Director of Member Services and Community Relations. Just a couple of very quick updates. Winter Storm Fern came and went, left a lot of ice on the ground, but thankfully it didn't accumulate so much on trees and power lines. We really dodged a bullet there. You may notice we do have our contractors, Wright Tree Service, working on tree trimming for circuits coming out of our Pratt substation. That's our normal 5-year cycle for right-of-way maintenance, as well as Lewis Tree Service working out of the Standardsville substation. They're working on the Wolftown circuit for mid-cycle hazard tree removal. So I just wanted to give you an update on that.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one I'd like to ask Mr. Henry. And I know the alert came above REC, but there was a very concerning alert that came out from PJM. Does REC have a position on that or input you can give us today? Because that's, cold snap's a bad time to shed power.
Absolutely. I will tell you what I heard, and to be completely honest, I don't know if this is meant for the public, but I will tell you what I know, which is that evidently they were having an issue with a breaker on a 500 kV transmission line. So I know, when that announcement was made to us by PJM, we passed it on to the public to help them prepare for what may be a blackout situation. Thankfully, it didn't come to that. But a lot of the speculation that we saw online was, is it data center related? Is it, is the grid stressed? And yes, it was stressed, but it appears because it was kind of a fluky breaker issue. It wasn't necessarily overloaded because of power consumption through the grid, if that makes sense.
There's normally, I'm sitting here, Brian likes to wear many hats, so one of them is emergency management coordinator. Are things like that generally given to the county? I mean, I know emergencies, you try to get information out as quickly, and maybe I should be asking PJM, but can information like that at least flow to the responsible point of contact for communities? So we learn about it maybe firsthand versus scrolling through Facebook.
Yeah, let me bring that back to the office and talk about it with our...
Whatever we can do to partner. We realize it's not REC. We realize we're an importer of energy. I wish Virginia would get back to an exporter, but anything we can do, but definitely having that point of contact established helps us with planning or communication to board or citizens. So I appreciate you.
I think that's a great idea, and we can talk about when we get future alerts, from PJM. Hopefully that's a very rare occurrence, because that was pretty unusual. We typically don't get that. But we can give counties and municipalities a heads up prior to making a public-facing announcement.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Henry?
No. Yes, sir.
All right. Jim, you got anything on planning commission, or you're, okay, Lauren?
Lauren Gordon, I'm pulling double duty again today. So from social services, Would just like to say that we are monitoring legislation at the General Assembly. There's a couple bills that are really sticking out to us as far as potential centralized CPS intake, DSS board member term limits, and the child care subsidy program phased reduction. So just kind of keeping an eye on those things right now. There has been a significant increase in adult protective services reports. A lot of elderly clients with no heating, no food, no way to get out because they're snowed in type of thing. We were definitely prepared to shelter. Thankfully, we didn't need to do that. And Ms. Ward wanted me to let everybody know that the Piedmont Warming Shelter is actually over capacity, but they're meeting the housing needs overnight. They're currently serving about 35, and they're open through March. So, any questions on any of that for social services?
I have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Ms. Gordon, as you know, I work with Valerie Ward on the bill that is attempting to centralize child intake.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were down in Richmond, we spoke to Senator Reeves about it and lobbied against that bill. It looks like it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a travesty and it's going to hurt kids.
Yep.
And I encouraged Valerie to just, keep track of the effectiveness of her agency as that transition happens, so that we have the data to show that it was not an effective move. But unfortunately, that bill is just in line with all the other bills we have on land use.
Right.
You name it, the state just wants to take centralized control.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, that's where we are on that, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for what you guys do, because your department is an example for other departments to follow.
Thank you.
Anything else? Very well.
And I'm also, sorry, real quick,
Oh, yeah,
just
we did
pulling
the
double
school
duty, a
board?
school board.
Yeah, what we got?
Just a quick that we gave our draft budget presentation last night, had it open for public comment. And we also recognized the school principals for Principal Appreciation Week. That was actually in January. We're a little bit delayed for doing that. And February is actually School Board Appreciation Month. So we came into our meeting last night with lots of artwork from all the students and cards and things like that.
So the budget that was presented last night, I assume that's on the school board's website, right?
I'm hoping it is, yes. It should be. It should be on board docs.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Mr. Gordon, emergency management report?
Yeah, don't have a whole lot that we're not going to cover later on the agenda. I did want to mention, I got a call from VDOT today. They're going to do a bridge replacement on Garth Run Road. The issue with that is Garth Run Road is a dead-end road with only one access in and one egress out. I'm working with VDOT to minimize the impact of that, but it looks like right now that April the 8th, we will have an isolation instance in that community. It's about the 1200 block of Garth Run Road. I reached out to the emergency responder staff today to try to develop a plan to be able to mediate the isolation of that event. Looks like it's going to be about a 14-hour deal where we'll have no access of any kind. I went up there today. The farm access, there is none to get around this because of their fences and gates and creeks and things like that. There's just no way to get any real apparatus around it. We had this situation up in Nethers about 2 years ago. We ended up staging an EMS unit and a fire truck on the other side of the break for the duration of the closure. I'm working with VDOT to try to eliminate that because that's also isolating our responders up there as well. But there is in early April, I'm sure everybody's seen the weather conditions. We're in a drought, severe drought. DEQ issued a warning today, and if you look at all the websites, we are percentages of where we should be. My concern for that time of year is that's brush fire season, and we get a large-scale brush fire up there with no way to access it. We're going to have a heck of a problem.
So approximately how many homes and stuff do we have beyond that?
There are 22.
22?
But a lot of them are summer homes. I went there the main reason I went there today to see if snow was broken.
Right.
And that's a way we can do that. VDOT is going door to door up there and letting those folks know that. So they're doing the things they need to do, but we need to prepare just in case. Now, the good news is it's an overnight closure. So not a whole lot should be going overnight. As long as we have moisture on the ground, that's gonna mediate the fire hazard. But we need to be thinking about it so that we don't wanna get caught, not prepared if something like that were to occur.
That's a bad situation. Very bad. All right, well, thanks for checking it out. Mr. Weekly?
And Mr. Frazier had a family matter, so I did want to report something on the facilities side. Last week, shortly after I talked to the chairman, any damage in the county? No, we fared well. We had a burst water pipe underneath the scale house, caused some damage, pulling some of that tin back on the back wall that faces the old trash sales. Looks like there was some prior water damage there before. The insurance adjuster and inspector, if you will be out tomorrow. So we're looking at, parallel, we're looking at a cost of new replacement for like, say, a 8x20 job site trailer versus repairs, and we'll analyze that and hopefully have a decision soon on that. But first steps first is the insurance adjuster. The structure right now is sound. It's just, we have to do something. And that trailer, it's been there at least since '99 when the transfer station went from a closed landfill to a transfer station. I don't know if it was a newer or used model at that time. But it definitely is at a point of evaluating new versus old and making a decision to move forward.
All right. Questions?
Yeah, has the water been restored?
Let me check on that. I know we were gonna put a plumber on that and put some heat tape. That was the thing with underpinning. There was really no R value. They even had the faucet dripping, which is what you would do in some of those situations, and it's still frozen bust. I will check on that, sir, and have to email the board tomorrow or follow up. I don't have that answer today.
That's a long walk to the Porta John.
It definitely is. Definitely is.
All right, thank you. What you got?
Yeah, while we're on the scale, what was decided on those scales? Are they gonna have to be?
The scales have to be replaced. It's in our capital plan. We'll plan a day for that. Most likely, that'll probably be a 2-day event. So we're normally closed on Sundays and Wednesdays, so we'll try to plan either a day before or a day after or Wednesday to get that done.
So no
We'll-
recalibration or anything like that?
There'll probably be some calibration and also hooking up all the electronic software that goes with it. So we'll put out advance notice to the public as well as our commercial haulers.
All right. Anything further? No, sir. Okay, very well. We cover everybody, I think. So the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the 13th of January, and we have supplemental appropriation number 24, which covers two items, Everblue and the Sheriff's Department for the drone replacement. So, anybody have a motion for the consent agenda as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, Chairman votes aye. All right, next item, special appearances. We have Ms. Abby Johnson for the C-PACE financing program. Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, how are you? Just trying to work on the camera here because it looks like I'm not looking at
And
you.
Ms. Johnson, this is Mr. Weekly. When you need your presentation advanced, just let us know. Ms. Turner is happy to go through that presentation at your speed.
Okay, she just wants to say next slide, pretty much. Oh, thank you. That's great. That's great. You don't have to make it quite that big, but that's good. I was going to try to do both slides. Well, thanks very much for the opportunity to present to you all. And I think there's a few new folks on the board, so I'm, happy to answer any questions even after this presentation at a later date. But I am the executive director of the Virginia PACE Authority. We are the administrators for the Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy Program for the state of Virginia. We're a nonprofit, 501c3. We have been running the state program on behalf of Virginia Energy for a little over about 3.5 years now. And I've personally been working in this field. It's kind of short for CPACE financing from commercial property assessed clean energy since about 13 years now. So certainly I've seen a lot of iterations and changes in the program and think it's a really great time to join. Since I think I presented to you all in the past, we have onboarded more localities. We now have 24 with another 2 to 3 coming the next quarter. And we closed 3 large transactions at the end of the year. So we're now at about 125 million. Next slide. So what is CPACE? So it's really an innovative way to finance through private lending a wide variety of measures that you can use for either an existing building or for a new build, new development. And so these what's covered by the state law and then by the ordinance if it's passed in the county are all sorts of energy efficiency measures, all sorts of renewable energy, resilience. I was thinking about the conversation earlier about grid issues and, backup generation, either through batteries or even natural gas generators would be something you could use in CPACE. Stormwater management, so think about new construction, runoff requirements, things like that. And if you have an old building, for example, in your historic downtown, you want to take out the asbestos, lead pipes, things like that. So it's really a broad program that allows for lots of different measures to be financed. And so we consider it a really powerful tool for your economic development toolbox. So as I mentioned, it's established by state code. And it's now I'm almost done. And it's basically, you would enable it in the local government through an ordinance. And the reason why you need to do that is because even though it's private money to private building owners and developers, it is legally speaking secured against the real estate as a voluntary special assessment, meaning voluntary. My property owner, I'm a property owner, I want this financing, therefore I'm asking for the special assessment to be placed on the property. And therefore, because of that special assessment, it is something that has to be approved by you all because it's not just a regular loan. Next slide. As I mentioned, there's lots of different kinds of property types can use PACE. Basically, the only thing that cannot use PACE is single-family residential up to 4 units. So pretty much anything else is acceptable. I would say that if you go to the next slide, in terms of measures, I kind of brought up eligible improvements. I brought up a lot of the ones already. One thing I would say is that although technically ground-mounted solar is eligible, because CPACE is based on the value of the property, we really haven't seen that being used very much. We are seeing some interest in unusual property types and uses like for data centers due to the high energy use and water use. But generally, we're seeing a lot of hotels using energy efficiency measures. We're seeing assisted living facilities. We're seeing innovative hub in Harrisonburg, so kind of a mixed-use property. So really, it's a kind of a broad spectrum of properties and measures that are being financed. Next slide. So why would the county want to enable this program? Basically, it's really helpful for both owners of existing buildings and owners that are, for developers who are using it. We've seen it in both gut rehab and in new construction. It basically is providing 100% financing of the eligible measures of the project. It's competitive financing. Rates have come down as product is really wanted by the industry. So we're seeing it around as low as 230, 240 spread over the 10 years. So very competitive with bank rates. However, it's fixed. And it can be, financed over a long period of time, which means your annual payments are going to be lower because you're financing it over a long period of time. However, you can prepay it like a regular loan, but it offers that option. And because it's tied to the property, it is essentially non-recourse. So although occasionally banks will offer non-recourse, typically they require personal guarantees. And so this is something that's very attractive we've seen with clients that use CPACE. Now, if you pass it, you'll be able to also, the property owners can use it even after the property is complete. And as I mentioned, it is something that is voluntary. It's something that developers are asking for. So in new construction, basically, it's funding, again, 100% of the hard and soft costs for the projects that are eligible, the measures, and it's replacing more expensive mezz debt often or equity. So we're seeing it lowering the cost of capital, and in the projects I'll show later on, it's definitely was the reason it was used. It provides flexibility, you don't have to repay it right away, so developers are seeing this as a great tool to help be able to utilize their equity in other places and other developments, or just to help getting the project going. Next slide. Here's an example. This is actually a hotel that in Rockingham County, so not too far away, you know, across the mountains. And it was just, this is one of the projects we closed at the end of the year. It's a Hyatt Studios. It's almost complete. So towards the end of the project, the developer saw, a value being able to basically use CPACE to finance the energy efficiency measures of the project and be able to use the cash that he didn't have to use in those measures and put it to the next project that he's building. So it really is a win-win. The developer was very supportive and is going to use it probably for the next few projects at least. Next slide. So that's our smaller one. This is an older one, but it's in Prince William County. I wanted to bring it up because it's actually in Manassas area, so not too far from you all. And also you see the term is long-term. Again, it was a new construction, similar kinds of measures. We would love them to do even more than kind of energy efficiency, but we're excited they found this useful. So this has already been built. This was a project we financed a few years ago, or our lenders financed. In a retrofit situation, it's just, it can help lower your existing energy costs. It can help, lower your existing utility and maintenance costs. Putting in LEDs is less maintenance for the building. It can also help fund soft costs, also for new construction too. So if you have a certification or if you have an energy audit, we also will help fund some of the costs related to permitting. If it's part of the kind of percentage-wise goes with the part that's financed through CPACE. So if you had like $100,000 for the permitting, I'm making that up completely, and 30% of it was of the total loan amount was PACE, then 30% could go towards the permitting costs, for example. Next slide. And this is an example of the smaller one we did in Petersburg a few years ago. This is a 25-year term. It's a beautiful property. I actually stayed in it a few months ago just to see, kind of the result. And it really is something that had a lot of different kinds of financing in it. And I think that's something to really note. It really works well with historic tax credits, with tourism, with, new market tax credits if you want to use those. Grants, it doesn't get in the way, it doesn't complicate the financial structure. Next slide, which I think is the one that maybe some folks may have heard of. This closed at the end of the year, and this was basically, is going to be the redevelopment of the Dominion Tower in downtown Richmond. And this developer, who's actually a fairly well-known developer, Douglas, throughout the Southeast, they use CPACE on both the hotel and the apartment section of it for, again, the upgrades to the lighting, to the HVAC, to the building shell. So that is it's actually going to be a ribbon cutting on the 24th in Richmond, and we're very excited about this one because it's a very, iconic project building, and it kind of really showcases how PACE can be helpful. So again, it lowered the cost to the developer to redevelop the project, and allowed for the building to have high efficiency measures, which will lower costs when they actually are up and running, particularly for the hotel, which the hotel owner is going to be bearing the brunt of those utility costs. Next slide. So why do you want to do it? You want to help your developers. You want to help your property owners. I think the last time we spoke, you had a local inn that was in need of some assistance. And in fact, they were speaking to one of our lenders about using CPACE if it passes. It really helps stimulate the local economy by allowing for the redevelopment of properties. So it's a tool. It's not the only one. It's not in every situation you would use CPACE, but it really has proven to be very, very adaptable and very useful for projects that need major TLC that need major upgrades. And so it basically allows you to help, your constituents and help drive economic growth. Next slide. And really, these are the drawbacks. It's time. So what you're doing today is part of that staff time. What Mr. Wright did with looking at the legal documents is staff time, and what Jonathan and Tracy and others have done to vet the program is what we say is one of the major things you have to do, which you've done, I think, most of it at this point. But we have structured the program now where you're not billing and collecting the CPACE loan payments. That's in the state law. So that's absolutely not going to be done. So that takes that responsibility away, because we heard back from all the other, local governments that are part of the program, they didn't want to do it. So as a result, the lenders do it. And if you want to, you also don't have to enforce a lien. As a special assessment, it would be enforced like a real property tax, and that is why it gets these long terms, fixed, favorable rates and flexibility, because they have that status where that payment in case of a foreclosure is senior to a mortgage. And in fact, you have to get the consent of the senior lender before you can use CPACE, in case anyone was wondering. And so that enforcement, you don't have to do. We have the ability for that to be, those rights or those responsibility to be given to the CPACE lender. So that's something else that you don't have to do, the treasurer would not have to do. And so other than that, you don't have any liability, it doesn't affect your credit rating, and you're not guaranteeing any of the projects. It's all in the docs, basically holding the county harmless. Next slide. So basically, those are the folks that are usually involved in this, and we've talked to most of them, and we're happy to talk to anyone else who needs to vet the program. But we've worked really well with everyone on staff. You guys have been great. I know you all have multiple hats. I've been hearing about that this evening, so I appreciate the time you've given to us. But happy to help you in any now and after, and if you pass it, help you in the future. But we don't expect anything once you do it. Once you pass it, it's our role to talk to your developers, your owners, to take any leads you have if you want to provide them, and we run from there. You're only going to be involved when you're closing deals, signing the docs you've already approved. And that's what Mr. Wright has been doing. He's been looking at the docs, he's approved them, he's approving them, and so we're just going to check that everything has not been changed. And it's been so far very limited need of county or city involvement in our localities that are enabled. I think we're at the last slide probably. I know we're kind of running late. I've been talking a while. So yeah, basically this is what we do. We basically do everything from taking in all the applications, approving the CPACE loan per our program guidelines, which are available on our website, which you can review if you want. We work with folks like you all to pass CPACE. We do training of contractors, capital providers, provide outreach to the development community. And we will, certainly if you want to provide us opportunities to talk to owners, we will take the name and run it. So we basically, from soup to nuts, are a one-stop shop. And the last slide really is just to show you that we've made this standardized for the statewide program. And the next slide just kind of shows you where our docs are located and the links that we provide on our website. So we have kind of the docs you use to pass CPACE, and then you have the docs that you use during a transaction, most of which you don't have to worry about. They're really for the lender and the property owner. So in the next slide, we'll just tell you kind of a list of who's in the program. We have a very nice mix between around the state. Like to get more in Southwest and like to get more in Hampton Roads, but we're really excited about the progress. So I think the next slide may be it. Well, it just tells you what you do. We're kind of the step where once you are in agreement on doing it, we've already had the attorney review it, so it's really up to you all to take it to a public hearing. So I'm just going to stop there and answer any questions you may have.
Good. Questions from the board?
You can zoom out now if you want, so I can see people. I don't know.
If we're going to proceed with this, what's our next steps?
your next step, and I'm going to ask Mr. Wright to opine, but really it would be, they put together a model ordinance, and Hannon can tweak it. I think he's already done so in anticipation to make it fit Madison, and then you would have to hold a public hearing for the review and consideration of that ordinance. Mr. Wright, anything to add?
We would want a little bit of direction from the board, and that might also be a couple of questions for Ms. Johnson now in terms of how and who administers it, who enforces it, and then the ordinance would need to reflect which kind of paths we want to go down in terms of the CPACE. And then, of course, y'all's decision the ultimate decision is whether we want Madison County to participate in it. So that would also need to be decided.
And it's truly an economic development tool. We learned about it several months ago. I wanted Ms. Johnson to, and thank you, Ms. Johnson, for coming back, since we have two new board members join us since the discussion in October. We've had a couple of owners reach out and our interest, and I'll let Tracy speak to any others, but I do know Craigsville Elementary LLC is one of those, and as well as the Meander Inn and Tavern. I should know this, I live out there. And that letter from Mr. Seek was included in your board packet. So one of the things I found it interesting and to help the county is you all do a lot of work, sometimes take a lot of input, either for or against for projects, and you approve them, and then they just sit out there. And sometimes that's no fault of the owner, or maybe it's a finance thing or the business model changed. But if there's an opportunity out there, just like the charge of the EDC committee, we want to know about it and then present it and see if you feel it's a right fit. Since the last time we viewed this in October, I believe the localities participating in the state of Virginia have gone from 21 to 26. There are more than 26 localities, obviously. But it does look like it puts another tool in your toolbox. My main, okay, I was off by 3. I thought I had 27.
Well, actually, we're going to be 27 really shortly. We're just
Thank
doing
you
the-
for cleaning
Yeah,
up there. I
see?
missed that layout.
Good.
Thank you for putting it back. So it's always, I'm always looking at liability, and it's my understanding that, this agreement would be between the lender, in this case CPACE, and any lien enforcement, as it was in her slide, would be between CPACE and the property holder. Mr. Wright, I don't know if you have anything around liability or just in general, but it is an economic development tool at your disposal.
Could I ask a couple questions, Ms. Johnson?
Absolutely.
Hey, Ms. Johnson.
Hi.
Hey, for CPACE, for counties that are, I'll say, smaller, rural, maybe similar to Madison, are any of them self-administering CPACE? Do they have their own program administrator, or are they sort of subbing that out?
So just a really quick history. We started actually administering programs locally in 2019 and realized we ended up running like 9 and they're all slightly different. And the CPACE lenders, we're not the lender, but the kind of community of CPACE lenders are like, we can't spend time to look at 9 different ordinances and get legal opinions on 9 different ordinances. So we already kind of knew that was a problem, so we went to the state and said, can you please support a law, change in the state law that allows for a statewide centralized program. And as a result, we've seen a lot faster uptake from that. We had, I think, 9 over maybe a course of 3 years. And now we have, we went from 0 because you had, have them amend or adopt the statewide to 24 in a little over 3 years. So as I said, Lynchburg is in their final state. Danville basically has to just sign the agreement with the state. So that's 26. And we probably think there's another 1 or 2 close behind. So we see that no one has wanted to. Lynchburg considered first, I think, at some point administering it, years ago, and then they just never moved forward with the program at all. And so they're joining the state. The only one that doesn't, is not in the statewide program, is Arlington, and they never have been. They were the first one out of the gate, and they've always wanted to self-administer. But they haven't done much. They've done 500,000 or 600,000, I think, total.
Got it.
Since 2017. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And who are the lenders that are using the CPACE here in Virginia?
So it's primarily national groups that specialize in this kind of financing, and some are insurance company based. So TIA's Nuveen is part of TIAA, and they purchased one of the CPACE lenders called Nuveen Green Capital. So they're one. Another one is owned by Apollo. Another one's owned by Mass Mutual. So what we're seeing is they start as kind of private equity shops, but then insurance companies or much larger groups view this as a very, safe way to do sustainable investments. And so they have partnered or acquired these groups. We are really actively and always have actively wanted more banks that particularly are Virginia-based to be involved. So I've known Bill Greenleaf from Locust for many years, and we're presenting to them shortly, really hoping to get Locust on board. Town Bank has consented, and I've talked to them a lot about becoming actual CPACE lenders. And there's a few others, Eagle Bank, but I think for banks, it's just a lot more. I mean, they can do it. It's done in Wisconsin for a number of years, but it does take a lot. It's a lot more infrastructure than it's kind of an entrepreneurial kind of lending structure. So it takes a while for them to see how it would work, you know what I mean? So, but a few have done it in Northern Virginia or in the DC area as well.
This may be a stupid question, but if.
There's no stupid questions in CPACE. It's not easy.
For a developer who agrees to this and takes out the loan, is the payment actually coming through the Madison County Treasurer's office, or is it going direct to the lender? Who's servicing this?
It's a very good question. It was originally structured to be that way, but starting with Loudon, who was our first jurisdiction, they said we don't want that. So we basically have made all the payments basically between the CPACE lender and the property owner. We're aware of it, and if there's an issue, they're required to tell us. But again, particularly if I would say 60% of localities have opted to delegate enforcement to the CPACE lender in case of default or foreclosure. And 40% have said, we'll just see what happens if it happens, and then we'll decide. So that's a case-by-case basis. No one has decided to enforce in the 24 localities. So it's really, if you do case-by-case, it just means you are kind of kicking the can to when you might have an issue. But no one is billing and collecting in the treasurer's office. For sure the revenue is not involved. The treasurer just has to make a decision if they want to enforce or not. Or that's the decision. Yeah.
What's been the history of default?
So that we don't have, it's not a publicly maintained database like you'd have with Freddie or Fannie, Freddie or Fannie Mae. So we don't have that. We have just from talking to our industry, which is pretty small, and it's very low. There's one out in California that was pretty large, not due to CPACE, but the whole loan structure failed. I think CPACE got paid off, and then the rest of it, I don't know what happened. That was a long time ago. There's been something I believe we've had. Okay, so we used to run Maryland for about 4 years, where we did service. We were involved in servicing. It was on bill. So we would see all these loans, and a few of them were late, but none of them have gone into foreclosure. Well, one out of like 54 went for tax lien sale. That's how they do it in Maryland, out of all the ones we were servicing. So it's low. I mean, I can't predict the future. We're considering, we haven't decided yet, but the next iteration, we're considering limiting the loan to value. But what happens is, to be frank, is there's always a senior lender. And they limit the CPACE because they want to make sure they're comfortable with this stream of payments that's coming ahead of them. So they're doing it because they want the deal done, and because maybe they can't lend as much as they would like, and they want the deal done. So it's becoming easier, but they are the final decision makers on what amount and if CPACE is used.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Those are my questions. I think members of the board may have some for you.
Yeah, questions from the board?
No questions.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Ms. Johnson, remind me if there was, is there a limit per year or per parts of the state or jurisdiction of how many loans you can give out?
No, there was a long time ago, but that got removed maybe 4 years ago. So
We
it's
have
just
4 property owners here in the county. They all 4 could apply.
absolutely. Yeah, there's no limit. Mm-mm. I mean, I'll tell you historically, working in other states and whatnot, you maybe get, I'm trying to think, like in Cook County, Illinois, which is Chicago, maybe they've had 8 or 9. It's a huge place, right? It's not like you're getting dozens of requests, but you could. I love it. I mean, we have 2 in the hopper. I would love to have more, but it's not usually, it's just, it's not, it's also not that known yet, but yeah, there's no limit.
Yeah, Ms. Johnson, I've got a couple of questions. I did some research myself, and I found this one thing, and I asked the Commissioner of the Revenue to stay until I asked this question. It said, loans are long-term, fixed rate, and repaid through a special property tax assessment. So since our Commissioner of the Revenue handles tax assessments, what part of any of this would he have to play in this?
Nothing. That's generally how CPACE works. But in Virginia, the state law, we had it structured, I forget, the last maybe 2-3 years ago, to basically remove servicing from locality because no one wanted it. So they don't have to do that. They don't have to bill and collect. It's the CPACE lender who does that, and if they don't do it, we do it.
So there's nothing in our Commissioner of Revenue's records here that shows the special property tax assessment, quote unquote.
It's secured against the property and the land records, but that's it.
Okay.
It's not something you would see, like we worked a lot in Maryland with, I don't know what they're called, Commissioner of the Revenue, but we worked with, the Department of Finance, whoever collected it, and it was on the actual bill. But you will not see a bill come out of any CPACE transaction in Virginia that has CPACE on it. You will never say real property tax, anything else, and then CPACE. It's not, it doesn't happen. It's billed directly from the CPACE lender to the property owner.
All right, so Brian, are you familiar with this program at all at this point?
I'm not familiar, and I haven't had a chance to review. Does it actually provide for a special assessment of the property through the code?
It's so basically because the public benefit would be the reduction of energy consumption. So we can either look at it as greenhouse gas emissions, or you can look at it as less grid, helping the grid by having lower energy consumption through energy efficiency measures. It's considered a public benefit. That's the premise originally back in 2008, 7. So as a result, that law, state law, is saying you're allowed, the state says a local government is allowed to adopt an ordinance which provides for the special assessment mechanism. So the only reason why we need that, or why it's useful to have that, it's critical to have that, is because that security, that lien position, means that in the case of foreclosure, the CPACE payment, only what's outstanding, similar to a property tax, comes ahead of the mortgage, if there's a mortgage, right? So that's why it's created. In reality, these things are getting paid off when the project is stabilized. So now, when the beginning, you used to have like 5 years where you couldn't prepay. Now we're seeing no lockout periods because it's being used really to fill the gap in financing. So 70 to 80% of the deals, at least, are new construction or new gut rehab. I mean, all of ours so far of the 7 have been one of the 2. So we anticipate, actually, 1 is already paid off. So it's like get it stabilized, and then the gap between what it was worth when you finished construction and when it's stabilized often allows it to be paid off. Now, the rates have come down, so maybe they want to keep it, but that's typically not the reason why it's being used at this point.
There's no impact to the actual taxable assessment
No.
of the
No.
property. Okay.
Mr. Wright, you got?
I just wanted to point this out for everybody. Ms. Johnson, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the CPACE loan turns into being on the same level priority as county real estate taxes if they became outstanding. And so if there were a foreclosure or forced sale, then for every dollar that would be going to those things, 50 cents would go to the county, 50 cents would go to the lender. Does that make sense, Ms. Johnson? Am I saying that right?
You are, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So my other question, if we were to move forward with this and ultimately do it, you're out there talking to somebody who wants to do something. So I would be telling them that this has to be tied to energy efficiency in some fashion. It seems like it's pretty broad fashion, but in some fashion.
Well, energy efficiency, renewable energy, so solar, wind, battery backup, resiliency, a lot of stuff. I'm not saying everything, but, like in some states, they're now doing embodied carbon. I would probably, I'm looking at including that. So all sorts of things. What I would say is not included is buying the property. So buying the land, some of the foundation maybe, but the envelope would be if you're putting insulation in or basically, let me just make it simple. If you have say a new building and you overall are making it more efficient than code, I mean overall, so you do a model and you say, okay, including all the different things, HVAC, lighting, roofing, all that, this thing is just over the 2024 code. So that means that those measures would qualify that are part of that. And so it's not like we're trying to be really balanced. It's great to have energy efficient buildings, but we're really trying to help, developments get built. And what we're seeing is really providing that financing gap. So I would say basically land acquisition, foundation probably, and like interior, like some appliances, if they can't be easily removed, can be included, but like not refrigerators, stuff like that.
Yeah, so
But
the energy efficiency, it's a component of it all.
right, but also lead pipe removal, right, or indoor air quality, all sorts of things. I mean, I'm happy to talk to you offline about how. I can give you an example of like a project and what was done, but it can be much broader than that. Like you'll take a construction budget and you'll go through the line items you have, all the sections, and it'll say paceable, paceable, paceable. And almost always the amount that's considered paceable or acceptable from the energy engineer is greater than what either is needed or what the senior lender will allow. Almost always. So we haven't seen a situation where we haven't been able to get enough measures. The only time I've seen one case was the value was a little, questionable because we make it really flexible. We say 100%. So we know no one's going to get to that. But there was a case where we had to ask for a new appraisal to show that the value was sufficient. We let the state-based lenders, with the lenders and all the lenders and the property owners hash it out, kind of like in a private loan situation.
All right, thank you.
I've got a question. So what would be a lower amount amount to be financed for this? I can see that you go up really high for like the Dominion building, but what would be a lower amount? A lowest?
We even have one that's higher than that right now. That biggest one, actually, just to give you an example, was a huge project in DC, was $465 million of just CPACE. That's the biggest one of record. I don't think we're going to get that in Virginia, because unless you do Tyson's Corner, but the lowest amount, our amount is $50,000. But realistically speaking, we don't have lenders that are willing. We have one. I just found one lender who's willing to go down to like $400,000. And that is a problem. Like, we want your Main Street businesses to be able to use it. But unfortunately, this is the reason why it doesn't. There's a problem with finding lenders willing to do that. You need senior lender consent. So the amount of effort you have to go to educate whatever bank is on already has a loan on that property, is not worth the tiny fee they would get from financing it. That's just the reality right now. But we do have one or two who will go under $1 million. And I think the two on the books, like the one, the Meander, I think it's not that big, it's like a few million. for example, so it's not huge. We like those deals as much as the big ones.
What else?
I'd just like to pull, I know I've asked a lot on the legal side. Tracy, anything for economic development you'd like to say about the program or anything in between?
Yes, I realize Hannon had the heavy lifting on this one because it all sounds great to me and no liability for us. We actually have 3 in the queue. The project that brought it to us was Ahmed Helmi. And so we've got the Meander, Criglersville, and a certain project in town should be on board with this too, I would think.
Tracy, do they have a lender yet?
I don't
Do you
know.
know?
It's just sitting there, and he's a contractor, said he had his own contractor, so, yeah, I'll work on that.
If you move forward, let me know. I'm happy to
Oh,
help.
yeah, and thanks for doing this again.
Of course. No, I really enjoy it. You guys have been really, really responsive and great. I've enjoyed presenting and talking to you. And happy to answer any questions offline after the meeting for anyone who has
And
them.
just for the record, so all the lenders are all private, and there's no tax money involved in this. You know, that was the other thing
Yeah.
that was brought up in my research, you know, looking online and stuff, so. Okay, what else from the board or Jonathan?
I think to go back to Hannon, one of the things he said, just really looking for direction from the Board of Supervisors, if you wish to move forward or not, and then staff would take the next appropriate steps.
Right, so, you know, should the board members want to move forward, we should direct Jonathan and Hannon to go forward with drafting the requisite documents to ultimately have an ordinance and a public hearing on this, so. Yeah.
Is there any startup costs at all to this?
I mean, we do all of it.
I would look at it as part of what you pay us to do, economic development or research, so that's just how we view it.
Well, if we go forward with this, I would like to have Brian and Stephanie, you know, in on whatever discussions need to be had, since, you know, to get up to speed.
Right. So I'm sorry.
No, so would the board like to make a motion to have staff move forward with this?
I'll make one comment, Mr. Chairman. I think we should move forward, and I guess put this in the form of a motion. We should move forward with the general direction that whatever we decide on has no administrative costs or liabilities to the county, however that's detailed.
It sounds like a good motion. You want to?
I
second
move.
the motion?
I move.
Yeah, and I just have one question too. I'm just wondering if any of these projects that we have, and people are asking for this CPACE money in order to develop their project, does the board have a yes or a no vote on what is developed? I mean, we would still do that?
Yes, well, we have, unfortunately, you know, ask Mr. Smith, when it comes to the site plan, definitely that stuff comes through Jamie's,
Designated agent, which would be Mr. Nichols, your planning and zoning administrator. But now, that's for existing property that's been rezoned and so forth. New property as well, if it's an SUP or something, that comes to the planning commission and ultimately Board of Supervisors to decide on new zoning or things of that nature. Once you decide your zoning, then yes, if it meets criteria, the site plan ordinance, your designated agent, which is Mr. Nichols, would go through and administratively approve that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I make a comment real fast?
I'm sorry, just real quick, so if we didn't like the businesses going for that loan, so say it's like 10 vape shops opening up in a strip mall, what the board doesn't have, we couldn't tell CPACE not to.
No, but I mean, at that point, like, we're kind of at the end, like, they've already got their senior loan, and they've got, I mean, I think you already would have known about the project. I mean, you talk about like an existing building, existing property, because a new construction, you would already agree to it. You know, we're kind of at the end of the process, really. After it's all been, we're not at the beginning, but I don't know any vape shops. First of all, it's small, so no one's gonna finance it, number one. And number two, I know there's a lot of discussion about cannabis, and because it's not federally allowed, there's no CPA. I mean, there's maybe one who considered in California financing the building where it was leased to a cannabis, whatever, but we haven't seen any of that, and I don't, CPA's lenders generally frown upon it because it's, their money is insurance money, most of it now, so they're pretty conservative about that. So far, to give you really quickly, we have a wellness center in Shenandoah County, we have the Dominion Building, we have hotel in Loudon, assisted living, another hotel in Petersburg, we have a hotel in Rockingham, and we have the Innovation Hub in Harrisonburg. And in our pipeline, we have more hotels and multifamily and mixed use. So they're pretty cookie cutter type developments that I've seen, and nationally, I really haven't. Data centers maybe, but by the time you would decide yay or nay on that, of course, way before we get to CPACE.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Jewett, could you restate that well-worded motion you had going there?
It was too long ago, but I'll try. Anything over 2 minutes. I move that we direct the county staff to pursue the drafting of an ordinance with the two general guiding principles that, one, it will not incur any administrative costs or efforts of the county staff, and two, that it assures us that there's no financial liability to the county.
Very well, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion at this point? Yes, sir.
Just maybe splitting hairs, but to the point, there would be limited, but some county involvement. At a minimum, someone may contact Ms. Gardner's office and, hey, where do I get this application, where it goes? So again, I just view that as part of business, but what I think I'm hearing Ms. Jewett say is, we're not filling out an application, we're not doing a lot of the business plan and none of that. It's minimum staffing, more directing, here's this program.
Incidentals.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Do you mind if I say one thing? I just want to be clear that when a deal comes in and we have the paperwork that your attorney has already approved, you all do have to sign it. So what we've seen is maybe, I don't know, an hour's worth of time to just make sure all the numbers, I mean, we already do that. You could spend no time, but someone does have to sign it. I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah, sure. I think
Okay.
that's understood. Understood. Very well. So further discussion? Huh? Yeah.
March 24th would be your 6 p.m. meeting.
Okay.
Unless you want to go to the April meeting.
All right, no, that sounds good. We can put it together by March 24th, you think?
No further discussion?
Okay,
Go to your vote, sir.
very well. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Very nice to meet you, and look forward to working with you. Thank you. I'll leave now. No questions?
What was that?
I think she asked me if she'd part. The answer was yes.
Okay.
Or she's always welcome to listen to the rest of your
I
agenda.
know,
so.
like everybody else. Okay, next item on the agenda. We have no public hearings tonight. Old business. Let's talk about the local government day report. That would be, I guess, Mr. Jewett, you gonna lead that, or you and Jonathan? tag team it?
I think we put it there as a placeholder. Obviously, we had wonderful participation at that local government day, so just wanted to put it out there. I know you all met with legislators, but really wherever you'd like to start, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to have the ability, you can bring back anything you learned or bills you want to follow. The only thing I would say from my standpoint, when you get to the end of your discussion, if there are certain bills or positions you want to take as a county and you want to direct me to send a letter to the governor or any delegation, I'm happy to do that. But it's really a placeholder for any bills you may have been tracking or learned from that day.
Well, since I was the only one that didn't make it down there, I'd like to hear from all of you all if you've got something, Nancy.
Why don't you start that in and just
Yeah,
work your
all
way?
right. Judd?
I think, I mean, it was great because we got to meet with both representatives we have down there. Ms. Hamilton, you could just sense the frustration coming from her as a freshman representative. She thought when she first met other freshmen, most of them were Democrats. They all got along. They went through their introduction to what they have to do. And then when she gets to the floor to introduce bills or to vote on bills, she realizes that being a freshman, and especially the other freshman Dems, they really didn't have control over some of the stuff they were voting on. So they were told by senior leadership how to vote, even on certain things that were, I mean, you'd think would be common sense for both parties. They were reaching across the aisle. There was one instance where they were trying to limit juveniles and how they interact with the internet with bots. And they wanted to do an age limit on that. And you would think that both sides would agree on that, and before they got up to vote, they did agree on it, and then when they got up to vote, the Dems shot it down. So it was those types of things that are very, very frustrating for somebody new going in, and especially for me going down and talking to these folks. Just to see the amount of bills that are being thrown through the system right now, is just eye-opening. And I think that's one of the things. We had a great VACO meeting. VACO's doing a lot of great work. They had an admiral speak, talking about how we really need to, he compared President Washington, General Washington, and how he was so principled, and how we need to be principled as government employees. And that's something I think that was refreshing to hear at that level. And that's what I took. That's one of the few things I took away.
And I think that he already said a lot of things that I wanted to say, so. But I do think I wanted to talk about the retired Rear Admiral Dr. Peter Greasy. Yeah, he spoke on our leaders in the very beginnings of Virginia, using George Washington's legacy, which framed our nation's worth and integrity, which, as we know, victory came at a huge cost. The biggest included the bloodshed, the lives, the homes, the families. It cost, but the victory was our beginnings. And Dr. Creasy described George Washington as a man of integrity, a man with vision, and honorable in what he believed. And he believed in God, yes, and he believed in his appointed position, appointed and anointed position. And Dr. Creasy references included other presidents that we've had come through our Virginia, with 4 of them being Virginia-born in the first 5 that we had: Thomas Jefferson, George Mason, James Madison, and George Washington. But Dr. Creasy said, actions make the officer. And this is where he was talking to all of us, whether we've been elected or appointed. Here he said, actions make the officer: character, competence, truth, and trust. In every circumstance, every situation, was and is heavily weighted and meaningful. And I personally felt that this was a corporate and a personal charge to keep, where no moment, no decision, or experience is neutral. Rather, each carries significant meaning, consequence, even, and/or emotional burden. So may we have the integrity, the valor, the courage, and the strength of our own George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, to keep Virginia the place. As you all know, there would be no America without Virginia. That was one, and some of that stuff I made up, I put in there, so, but not all of it. I added to it, but that's so important, and with these bills that we have that they're trying to pass, it is so important that we stay prepared, we stay ready, we stay in the know, and we need to be able to help our elected officials, especially Karen Hamilton and Bryce too. But Karen she's down there and she's working as diligently as she can for us. And please know that you can reach her. She will answer your questions and she is for us. And we have to make sure that we can strengthen her through our prayers, through working with her and communicating with her, like Jim Jewett has done and Jim Smith has done, and I just say thank you for that. But, you know, that day we sat in his office, it was Brian and myself and Mike Snyder, and it seemed like she just, it was a difficult day for her, but when she got to sit there and just talk with her Madison people, you could just see that it was just a good thing. So don't think these people aren't reachable. Don't think they don't need you. You need to send a card, whatever it is, just do that. And thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Well, I have a few bills I just want to highlight, but I'm going to go back to what both Judd and Nancy referred to. What's going on now in the House of Delegates is a travesty. Simple, a lot of viciousness, vindictiveness. The online child protection bills were sponsored by Democrats, and when the Republicans expressed a bipartisan support for those bills, the leadership ordered those sponsors of those bills to pull them, which is just, I have no idea why you would do that, what the motivation is, other than petty politics. When we go back into some of the bills that are there that are really, we're watching because they can have a monumental impact on Madison County and other similar localities. The House Bill 816, which passed, and its Senate companion, Senate Bill 454, these are the bills that will allow multifamily housing as a by right in commercially zoned property. The Senate bill is the better of the two, so I hope when they go to conference, that's the language from that one is adopted, because that would exempt all counties and municipalities of 20,000 or greater in population. So that would put us out of the woods on that bill. If the House bill passes, we've got to do some serious work on our ordinances and our site planning policies in order to mitigate some of the absolutely terrible things that are in those bills. The other thing, we've already talked about House Bill 535 and 536 in a previous meeting, which Delegate Hamilton patron sponsored. Mr. Smith and I went and testified on. Obviously, they were both buried, but they dealt with, again, local issues, being able for localities to control development. The other big pair of bills that I think worries everybody in the state, and that's going to be House Bill 1263 and Senate Bill 378. These are the bills that will mandate collective bargaining. And as VACO stated, and as we know, these would be catastrophic to particular localities like that in our budgets and our operations. I think it's ironic that I read that just a few days ago there were 5 mayors in the Hopewell area of Virginia. These are all these are Democrats, and these are all solid blue areas. Sent a letter to Abigail Spanberger begging her essentially not to actually veto these bills if they come to her desk. They realize what it will do to their localities, and it's forcing collective bargaining, which is, I don't agree with public collective bargaining at all. I mean, Franklin Roosevelt even was against public employee unions. But this is going to force localities, and this is not an exaggeration, to significantly raise our taxes and also cut our services. There's just going to be no way around it. And I could see this effect of this being on Madison County is that within a couple of years, we could actually have our property taxes approaching Northern Virginia levels. And if that isn't a catastrophe for counties like Madison and other counties, I don't know what is. But that's where we're at. There are, I talked about Senate Bill 640, which takes away the local intake for the child services, DSS, which is another, I don't understand that either. Rationale is that there are some localities that are not doing a good job. There are some localities that, put this nicely, are having financial integrity issues. So the knee-jerk reaction is, well, just let the state do it all. So now when a child is in danger, the local DSS just can't step in and take care of them. You have to call a hotline in Richmond and get them to start the intake process. So in the meantime, what's going to happen to that kid? So these are some of the things that are coming out of the General Assembly. I think that VACO is doing the best job that they can, and we just have to stay abreast of where these bills are going and what the ramifications will be. But I think VACO is a worthwhile organization. I think that the trip, everybody agrees that that's something that we ought to participate in every year. It's worthwhile, and to keep in contact with our legislators. If nothing else, just go down there and show your face and complain. We may not get much accomplished, but, we're trying. So that was my report. Thank you.
Mike?
I really don't have that much more to add than what the three previous have said. But you could say the walk up the hill was very cold. You could see the frustration on Delegate Hamilton and Senator Reeves' faces. Mr. Reeves was really pushed for time, and did take time to listen to us and talk to us. He had his assistant telling him, basically watching the watch, saying you only have a couple more minutes to say, but he did take the time. He handed out cards and said, look, if you do have anything, ever have anything, give me a call. Ms. Hamilton, she was very happy to see people from Madison there. You could see it, she was relieved when we walked in. She said, it's been a tough day. I can't really get anything through right now. But when we walked in, you could really see the relief. And one of the things she did say was that the gun laws were passing through. They were just walking right through with the gun laws. Other than that, I think the three previous pretty much said everything.
Mr. Weekly?
I would just add, the only idiotic bill I've seen failed was the gas blower bill, so that's gone, thankfully. But I agree, and it probably seems odd as an administrator taking this stance, but CBA will be a disaster. We struggle now being competitive. You heard it earlier, I think, from the chief animal control officer, but I'm sure there are others here that will tell you it's very competitive now, because every 5 years someone goes through a pay and compensation study, which looks at market-driven, but you go to a CBA, hold on to your hats. I apologize, I just sent it out now, so get a chance to look at it sometime this week. I do get a weekly update from our legislative efforts with Eldon James, and that comes through the Regional Commission. I did ask in our call on Friday if they could put together like a list of the taxation bills, because I heard there are those going through, but what are they? So there's some information about that in that email too. There's several attachments, but just highlighting here some of the taxing services, they call it potential revenue source, is the proposed expansion of sales tax to services such as personal households, of its dry cleaning, laundry, landscaping, and home repair, or professional and digital such as software applications, website design. Alan, there goes your side hustle. Data storage and digital subscriptions and digital personal property, or other things like animal care, vehicle repair, and delivery services. I mean, I heard of Uber or dog walking. So I don't know where affordability is at in that statement of taxation, but there are so many bills. I think I said this to one of you earlier. I thought 2019 was a warp speed pace for the General Assembly. This is nothing like that. This is probably 4 times that. So we'll stay on it. If there's any specific bills or, again, a letter you wish drafted as a formal position of the board, let me know. We'll be happy to send that to the governor's office or any other legislator that you wish to have. In that update, you will also see some of the legislative put forward, but if it's crossed through simply, that means it died. And unfortunately, I have not met Ms. Delegate Hamilton yet. I plan to do so in the future. It's a shame. I saw all of her bills just essentially wiped through, and I know there was some co-patron involved as well. So you're going to have one of your items here tonight, kind of is on the spirit of that, if you will, of state pushing on locality. You've got your Second Amendment reaffirmation you're going to talk about here tonight. But again, please look through that. We get that weekly update generally on a Monday or so forth. So it's the week prior. So if there are specific bills, we can go to the listserv and look at it and see where it's at in committee or not. So that's all I have to add.
I think, does everybody on the board get the email from RRC? Because that had, you hover over the bill number and it'll take you, that link will take you to it. So Brian, what you got?
Well, there's certainly a lot of negative, and there's no doubt about that. But we did speak with Bryce when we went in there. He kind of talked about the money. Greene County got some money for water infrastructure. Orange County got some money for water infrastructure. I talked to him very briefly about that, and I know RSA has talked about some concerns about their water infrastructure. So I think it would benefit us to get with RSA, see what they have, get with Senator Reeves, and see if there's something that we can pull some money to Madison County to bolster some of that. Can't do anything but help us as far as development and things of that nature.
Yeah, I mentioned that to Pete Elliott, who's one of our reps to RSA board, and he was aware of that, so we ought to follow up with him and see how, see where they've taken it.
Yeah, the one thing Senator Reeves did say was start early. He said if you can get it in there in October or earlier, you stand a lot better chance of getting something done.
Right.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I know when we talked to him, Greene was in there, and they did a lot of the stuff up front, and Reeves said that was very helpful. So make sure, like, talk to Greene, see what they did, make sure we.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to get into a room with RSA and see what they actually need and get some prices on it and see what it's gonna look like. And I think we're gonna be a money ahead if we do that way.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm following something Mr. Gordon said, and I'm glad he reminded me. Again, Senator Reeves said that next year, or this year actually, we should be considering over the summer what we would like to see in the General Assembly and get that proposed, because these bills get pre-filed by the end of the year. And that can include anything we might want to do with RSA. And I don't know, I was thinking possibly even maybe consulting with our neighboring rural counties to see if we could collaborate and come up with a joint resolution or a joint plan. Just something to think about.
Kim?
You're going
Okay.
next year.
There you go. All right, very well. So we're ready to move on to the next thing on the agenda, which is to rescind the declaration of local emergency. Brian?
Yes, sir. I think this thing has pretty much run its course. Luckily, we're seeing the ice finally coming off the roof, and be careful when you walk out here because it's been a minefield about all day. The cold temperatures have finally subsided. It is only early February, so I'm sure we'll see some more. But for this particular emergency, I think we're good to rescind this. We did have two reports of damage, both to agricultural structures. I spoke with VDM about it. We did not meet the threshold as a state to get federal assistance. They can, of course, get volunteer groups to come out and help clean those agricultural buildings out if it's necessary. I spoke to the two. I don't think that's going to be a need at this point. Other than that, we didn't even come close. I'll give you an idea. To get help from a snow removal aspect, you have to meet a historical storm. Well, the historical storm in Madison happened in 1996. I'm sure we all remember the blizzard. The snowfall for that day at Big Meadows was 33 inches. So we have to get more than 33 inches in a day before they're going to pay for it. So it's pretty, although this storm, I think we'd all agree, I'd have rather had 33 inches of snow. The ice is a nightmare. I mean, the snow removal folks, the county, everybody was tearing equipment up left and right. That's why it's taking so long to get it cleared. I think that needs to be taken into account, and I've talked to state folks about that. Not all snowfalls are the same, obviously. So that's where we are with that. I think we're good to rescind this now, and hopefully we don't have to worry about another one as the winter progresses.
Yeah, well, a couple of questions from me. So, at last night's, school board meeting, they said that they had, provided 500 meals for the kids and blah. So that probably still doesn't get us anywhere, but would that something like that would qualify?
It would. I'll give you an idea. Had it been a historical snowstorm, they run us a $4.28 per population. So you would have had to reach $67,000 to be able to qualify for that.
Yeah.
You get into GDP numbers if it's actual emergency. And being that's a pre-established program, it's harder to separate what we did as a result of the storm versus what we didn't do as a result of the storm.
All right.
So it gets kind of sideways pretty quick.
And
Correct, correct. And that's what we ran into at the Quaker Run fire. The state, I won't say neglected, but delayed their declaration about 3 weeks. So all the money we spent in the first 3 weeks of our fire didn't count.
qualify.
So the last 2 weeks of our fire, we had some expenses, but it didn't qualify to, I think out of $37,000, we got 4,500 back. So somewhere along those lines.
I'll buy a few pizzas.
And some of that's good, right? I mean, we don't wanna be the little boy cried wolf on every little event. We want it to matter when we can do that. And that keeps the system honest, I think, but it's very difficult when a locale like ours has to go into your pocket that deep.
And the one other thing you've probably considered it, I mean, you get these weather reports all the time. If we got a heavy rain right now, I think we would have some serious flooding.
They are calling for a potential 2 inches of rain this weekend. If some of this ice doesn't melt off, we will have flooding.
So that's why, then I was gonna throw it out, it's like, should we wait to rescind this?
Well,
Because of that possibility? or-
Well, the state is not in deck right now anyway.
Oh.
They've allowed theirs to expire.
all right.
So what we would do is wait till we get towards the end of the week. If we see that rain event coming, we could redeclare.
Okay.
We can do it fairly quickly, but if the state doesn't declare, we're kind of out on
Us
the ledge
doing
anyway.
It means nothing.
Well, it helps us from our financials. It allows us to do some things from our financial policy that allows us to buy things quicker.
Okay.
That's the big one for us.
All right, very well. If the board is satisfied with all this, so we entertain a motion to rescind the declaration of local emergency dated January 22nd, 2026.
So moved.
I second.
Very well, I have a motion and a second. Is any further discussion? Hearing none-
I just have one comment. I think Madison County, after all the catastrophes that we've had, we do a pretty good job of being our own FEMA.
Mm-hmm. We're by ourselves for the first 96 hours.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Very well. Chair votes aye there. Kim? All right, so next item, new business, Second Amendment reaffirmation. Mr. Weekly.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. During our agenda review, this topic came up. It was asked to put on the agenda. Since that time, I went back to review the action taken by past boards and seek directions of the existing board. There was a resolution adopted in 2019 recognizing the county as a the Second Amendment sanctuary. And then in August of 2020, there was an additional resolution passed as well. So in the packet, you have both the actions of 2019 and 2020, as well as the Virginia Code Section 915 paragraph E. That basically tells you the locality's rights on regulating any provisions as it pertains to possession, carrying, or transportation of any firearms. I also looked at the actions taken by our neighboring county. Culpeper County just went through reaffirming. So I looked how they went through that process. It doesn't mean you have to do ideal. One, you have an existing resolution in place unless the board rescinds it. I believe it still would recognize. Two, you could reaffirm.
what the action is already taken based on those resolutions cited. Third, I guess you could require passage of a new resolution. I did not draft a new resolution just based on how I saw our neighboring county do a reaffirmation, which essentially does take the existing board's position and makes it formal. So a reaffirmation is okay, but staff stands ready for any direction. I just wanted to make you aware of the background action taken and your options moving forward. Certainly, I don't know if legal has any thing to add, but we believe the relevant resolutions as well as the Virginia Code section would apply. Also, it almost escaped me. We did receive an email. Ms. Kim Smith wanted to be on record as supporting the reaffirmation of your resolution. That is the only, I believe, citizen input we had, but they request to be on record, and I did want to mention that to the board since I did not have that for your packet today. Hannon?
Very well. Before the board considers any action on this item, I'd like to ask, excuse me, Mr. Wright to provide a brief overview of the resolution for the public, if you would, sir.
Sure. So the board passed in 2019. It was a resolution declaring Madison County, and there were a lot of other counties that did the same thing, to be a, quote, Second Amendment sanctuary, unquote. The 2019 resolution, it's an expression of commitment to the Second Amendment in opposition to any laws that are unconstitutional. And it also says the board intends to protect those rights. It's not legally binding, but it's an expression of the intent of the board and the importance of the Second Amendment rights. Also, for the other context here for 2020 was Virginia Code Section 15.2-915. That was amended to allow localities to regulate the possession of firearms on public property, including even prohibiting guns on public property. So in 2020, I think that was the reason for the 2020 sort of, I'll say, reaffirmation or second resolution. And Madison County doesn't have any ban, as far as I know, on carrying firearms in public. So this won't, it's a resolution, it's not an ordinance. It's not county law, it doesn't affect state law or federal law, but again, it just is an expression of, I'll say, county values and intent.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, point of clarity as well. We do have, and Ms. Turner can bring it up when Mr. Jewett wishes, you prepared documentation on this as well. So we have that when Mr. Jewett is ready to speak to that.
All right, back to the board. Mr. Jewett?
Okay.
Anyone else?
Is that, does anyone else want to go? I just have
Go ahead.
Okay, I wanted
just had it
to,
up.
first of all, let me do a disclaimer on this. These are my opinions only as an individual supervisor and citizen. They are not necessarily the opinions of my fellow board members. The reason that I'm presenting these is because I ran 2 Board of Supervisors elections in this county, and one of my planks was the protection of Second Amendment rights. I won't read the entire document. There's a preamble that states what the Second Amendment says. It also talks about the quotation from James Madison's Federalist 51 essay. In February of 1789, James Madison, the father of the Bill of Rights, was elected to Virginia's 5th Congressional District, which included present-day Madison County, which is named after the Madison family. It was a very cold February, like what we have been experiencing. Madison was said to have suffered frostbite on his face during the campaign. When he took office, he was intent on amending the U.S. Constitution to protect the rights of individuals from tyrannical governments such as that of Great Britain. Madison had the support of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson while battling anti-federalists Patrick Henry and James Monroe. Madison considered the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to be critical to the safety of the citizens of the United States, both to protect against government tyranny, quoted in Federalist Papers 10 and 46, Writing in the Federalist Papers at that time, he wrote extensively of the need to protect individual rights in the new republic. An important aspect of the Bill of Rights that Madison argued for and is almost never mentioned is the need to protect citizens from citizens. Madison was influenced by the French philosopher Alexis de Tocqueville's concept of the tyranny of the majority, which it was based a lot on the horrific excesses of the French Revolution, 1793. But Madison described this in Federalist Paper number 51. Madison wrote the Bill of Rights, which includes the right to bear arms, to offer this protection to citizens from a majority of other citizens as much as to counter tyrannical governments. The United States Supreme Court has affirmed the right of citizens to bear arms. Two significant cases, 1886, Impressor versus Illinois. The Supreme Court stated that states could not disarm citizens because that would reduce the federal government's ability to raise a militia, further defining the term militia as all, quote, unquote, all citizens capable of bearing arms. In 2008, the Supreme Court ruled in the District of Columbia versus Heller that the Second Amendment applies to individuals, as does the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments of the Bill of Rights, and individuals may possess guns for self-defense. And that, incidentally, was a tenuous 5-4 decision. You know, in Virginia, we're facing this situation, and, you know, the ultra-liberal voting blocs in the metropolitan areas, such as Nova, have elected a state government that is attacking our fundamental right to bear arms. We are seeing bills that add excessive taxes on guns and ammunition, ban common semi-automatic rifles, magazines, and restrict locations where law-abiding citizens can carry their firearms for protection. A famous quote from Ronald Reagan, "Freedom is a fragile thing that is never more than one generation away from extinction. It is not ours by inheritance. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation, for it comes only once to a people. Those who have known freedom and then lost it never know it again." And we're living in such a generation. We have to be active in every election. You know, too many gun owners and conservatives did not vote in last year's gubernatorial election, which is why, to a large degree, we find ourselves in this situation. Therefore, our Second Amendment sanctuary resolution adopted in 2019 must stand in effect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And this would be asked to put this with the record, with the minutes. If you want one, Chuck.
Anybody else? No? Very well, then the board is here to.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, one thing.
Yes.
And Mr. Smith pointed this out to me. As I said, there's no local rules on carrying guns in buildings. There are, of course, state rules. You can't go to a polling place with it. You can't walk into the courthouse with your AR. Well, the sheriff's office would have something to say about it. So just wanted to make that clear now.
Yeah, all right, thank you very much. Yeah, nothing here gives anybody the ability to violate federal or state law. So we're here to consider reaffirming the county's position on the Second Amendment by reaffirming Resolution 2019-19 and Resolution in 2020 declaring the county's rights under Virginia Code Section 15.2-915E. And I think that the majority of the board right here is probably, we need a motion to reaffirm same. So moved. Very well. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this? Very well. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And chair voted aye. All right, there you go. The next item on the agenda, 250th anniversary of the founding of our nation. Mr. Weekly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've heard, either at a board meeting or normally I don't talk about private conversations, but I believe it's a level of importance why I bring it here today. I know of at least between Supervisors Jewett and Sharman, and maybe the rest of you have similar thoughts on any celebration that should occur here in Madison County recognizing our nation's 250th anniversary. So really, I wanted this on the agenda because any of you, when you mention something once, or generally if I hear it twice, it's like, well, this is a level of importance. Let's get it out for discussion, and just see if there's any ideas that the board has. If you're looking for anything beyond, I think we talked about fireworks at Grays Mountain Lodge, you know, certainly we can expand upon that, but if you want something, you know, even more localized, or if we're trying to push people to certain parts in the county, you know, we have our Mountain Museum. Certainly, the first presidential retreat was in Madison County, although it's a hard road to get through to get there. But I just really wanted to put this here for discussion because at least two of you have shown interest, and I wanted to make sure staff is engaging and follows any idea, because it would have to be more than a party of one. We would look to pull a committee together, or I would probably lean on some of the Historical Society folks and their knowledge, but we want to make sure it's at least out there for discussion, so we're engaging in meeting the efforts or thoughts of the board.
Okay?
Well-
Take the lead on it.
Okay, you know, I'm pretty crazy about America. And next to God and family, that's next. And I want to say that being able to celebrate the 250th is a huge, huge opportunity, and we don't want to miss it. And that's basically what I ran my campaign on, is preparing the future and preserving the past. Our past is rich. Everywhere you turn, we have the people, the James Madison. There's 20 Madison counties in America, but there's only one that started it, right? And that would be here with James Madison. I have been talking this up. I have talked to different people about it. I've kind of started doing my brainstorming. I hope I haven't jumped the gun on things, but I do have a volunteer group that has already begun. I mean, when I have talked to them, will you be on board? Will you? Because I think that everything we think, say, and do in the year of 2026 needs to be centered around Virginia's 250. Because like Youngkin had said, America was born in Virginia. And it's truth. It's truth. I have, I have, you know, this many notes on it. I don't know if you want me to sit here and read them all. But I have people ready. And I do think that it's going to take people. It's going to take people to be working events. I mean, our parade that we have in the summertime needs to be Virginia 250. Our fair needs to be, everything needs to expound about Virginia 250. We're not going to get to celebrate Virginia 250 again. So you know, I love Christmas and I love 4th of July. And I love Christmas because it gave us baby Jesus. And I love 4th of July because it gave us America. So I just have to tell this one little story. After Christmas, I mean, I really did Christmas this year because my Montana people came for Christmas. So I did it and I overdid it, okay? But it's okay. It's over now. And I said to Mike, I said, what am I supposed to do now? Taking down all these decorations, changing out the whole household. I said, don't even answer me. I got it. I can go straight into 4th of July. And that's what I'm doing. And so to show you, I brought a sample. I have talked about this with the town. I want to see banners across the road. I want to see yard signs just as if it was a campaign. I want to see flags up in yards. I want them hanging from your farm posts. I just think that it's our opportunity. And I think with all the rich history that we have, can we get those landmarks out there? I don't know if they'll be permanent, but people need to know that history that comes from the Hebron Lutheran Church. They need to know about Hoover. They need to know about our presidents. I mean, I think that we can pull in a lot of one lady said to me, I have my car show in August and I can't think about what's gonna pop that. And I said, I got it. Get a car, wrap it in the 250. I mean, everything we do needs to be represented, because everything I feel like that's happening in Virginia, a lot of, Richmond, is they're trying to minimize who we are. But we are the history. We are the history of this state, and we need to expound on it. We're gonna put ourselves on the map, that's all I know. Okay, I'm gonna need some help here.
So,
Can you help me out? Told ya. I just got started. I have other things coming. There's a lot of different places.
You want to go in front of you, Mr. Chairman, or?
what's that?
There you go.
There you go. Two-sided. That's just one idea. Okay. I'm not settling.
Oh, I'll tell you what, do this.
Yeah, that's good.
How's that?
It's,
It needs to come up a little bit.
Stand up, Chuck.
But I want to include the Historical Society. I want to include the tourism. I want everybody to be included. But I just am like, we got to get started.
So-
We needed to have been started before President's Day, and that's on Monday, but here I am. I got started.
So you're advocating that we move forward with setting up a committee,
Yeah.
which you would love to chair. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? No.
Well, I'll tell you, I have, some of the people that I have on board that have already said yes is Casey Griffin. Okay, Clarissa Berry, myself, Jerry Hudson. I'm not sure which one of those last names she uses, but I'm telling you that these people, we need, our newspaper would be 100 years old since it became the Madison Eagle. It changed names back in 1926. So I'm saying it would be 100 years old. Can we revamp something? It's gonna take a lot of people. We have to have social media people. I'm not that one. I can tell you that right now. Anyway, there you go.
All right.
So, Jim.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I always got something to say. I always got something to say, at my own detriment. I think it's a good idea to go ahead and form a committee with Nancy leading it. Structurally, I don't know whether we need to appoint members other than maybe just a couple. Perhaps officially it could be her and Tracy, and then they could pull in whatever volunteers that they could recruit and would be willing to work. That's just my suggestion.
Yeah, and somebody from the Historical Society would probably be
sure.
good to have on there. So, shall we,
I'll send out an email to Max, because they were talking
oh,
about.
that's right, who's the rep to that? You are? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll talk to Max and see where we go from here. But they've been talking about it, nothing's been anchored down for what they want to do, but this would be a good start for them too.
Because there's a lot to do. I mean, a lot of ways to celebrate, a lot of ways to get that out there, that information, so.
So obviously, okay, so sounds you two working on the committee or getting it together, what, huh? Does that sound good?
He's got a dollar sign, but I was like, that's a
Well,
future meeting.
I was coming up with that. That was
Well,
the next thing out of my mouth.
I think we would have to bring that back
If
to,
there's-
I don't think we can put a number on it right
No.
now.
If there, obviously a budget will probably be in order and
Well-
need to be approved.
Yeah, I think
Well, we
that,
haven't thought about that cost yet.
Right.
And I think if each one in this room just bought their own personal item that they were gonna put out in their yard, that's a good start. And Mike and I have bought lots of campaign signs in the past I want, one of the first things that I would like to see happen is something that's designed for Madison County. That is just our design. That's one thing that I would really like to see happen. And then Clarissa had mentioned to me that anything we spend for the county is tax deductible. Is that true?
Anything you spend for the county.
Like if you purchase things like
Yeah,
the
we,
flags
we,
and the stuff like that?
we're tax exempt
Tax-
on
yeah.
everything except for meals and lodging.
Okay.
You mean, we
Well, see,
wouldn't have to
that-
pay sales and use tax?
So when we purchase from a vendor, we are tax exempt, other
Correct.
than meals and lodging.
Right. Yeah, that's a different issue.
You know, Judd, since you're with the Historical Society liaison, why don't you serve on that committee too with Nancy? They'll give us 2 supervisors. You're in tourism too, so
Yep, we want to make sure that no one's left out. We're all in this together, right?
you gotta figure out how to get people here for the 250th and stay overnight and drink wine.
Right.
Our budget problem is
Over
solved.
and over and over again. I mean, that's where we need to be
Not a
celebrating
250,
it
but a
and bring them
$2.50.
Bring 'em in.
All right, so you guys get together and then, I guess, can you come back with at least some skeletal plan in 2 weeks? Or is that not? Just,
Or you can,
just the outline about some
started it,
ideas.
but, and,
It's
I
a
know my
big
husband
task.
will be very.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big thing.
Okay,
And Nancy, I'll
Yeah.
help out if, I'll be glad to help out, but I think you and Judd would be the perfect leads for this.
well, I was in town for the 200th.
and we had Hoover Day. We did celebrate Hoover Day and did a reenactment of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Yes.
And I'll work with
Yeah.
the finance director in advance. There's funding streams we can use. We may look at some additional top funds because it is tourism. Yeah, so we'll do that as a later, once we kind of get things
Right, well,
understood a
And
little
we-
more.
And this is a little different because the entire nation is on this. Everywhere you go, they're gonna be celebrating the 250, right?
all righty.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I guess
Thank you.
the last thing I wish to add on it is, as the
Yes.
committee meets, I'm assuming all this will culminate around July 4th, unless you're trying to do a different date, but that's something to look at when you're talking structures, the day of the celebration.
Right. Yeah, that's what it was for the 200th.
We're gonna celebrate every day, I'm telling you.
All right, so next item on the agenda is the 2026 Secondary Six-Year Plan. Mr. Weekly?
Did that before the 250, because we could have ended on a good note. So every year, your secondary six-year plan, and I should say 2026 VDOT secondary six-year plan, basically, they look at unpaved roads you have in the county. And there's certain criteria, 50 vehicle trips per day or more. They look at lane width, they look at a variety of things. So while there's many of unpaved roads remaining in the county, there are some that may or may not qualify. You normally have that public hearing of a draft in the springtime. I spoke with Ms. Shepherd in her office last week. One of the roads that was on your current six-year plan, Tom Johnson Road, they had some concerns with flooding and different things. They would actually, per the, I think our headquarters superintendent, that was one of the recommendations, was to pull that road off. That road has limited travel when it comes to residences that live on that road. I dare say it's probably more of a cut-through from Ellie to Carpenter's Mill than it is anything else. The good news is VDOT years ago did replace a lot of those culverts. There's some big culverts that go through there. I don't know if that's where the tributary Great Run runs through that area, but it does get flooded out pretty heavily. So there were some additional roads, and I put this via email in your packet. Some additional roads that either Kim or myself, we've gotten feedback on. I asked them to consider to review. That way they've got information they can give you, and you may want to add them or not add them to your list, as well as some roads they suggested. So Clore Road's one that's come before you 2 different times. VDOT did tell me that the conditions of Clore Road right now it doesn't meet that criteria. I think there's lane width issues. There is a portion of that paved, but it stops, I think, just past where the factory entrance is. Novum Church Road is one that we've had citizens reach out about. Russ Jones Lane, I was surprised to see the vehicle count was higher than 50 per day. There is someone on that road that's complaining about dust issues and a health condition they have that creates. And then Tusing Lane, which is in Rochelle off of the South Blue Ridge Turnpike. So those are some additional roads that we've mentioned, either, citizens primarily have given us feedback on that. VDOT would like to have the public hearing either March 10th or that first meeting in June. What I mentioned to VDOT was that, well, when are you going to give the information to me to get to the board so they can review the suggestions? I don't think, and I say this with all due respect if VDOT was here, I don't think you set your public hearing based on those 2 dates. I think personally June is too late. If you want to adjust your plan or ask them to study something, you're pushed up against that end of the fiscal year when you should be adopting this. I'm not sure they can get me the information. If they can and you want to hold one in March, fine. But I think let's get you the information first on the roads that are recommended in the analysis they have, whether they meet that criteria or not. And then you can look at things like the rural rustic program. For some of you who may or may not have been following this, rural rustic, it's hard surfacing, but it's not your traditional like Route 29 hard surfacing. Whatever reason, Brian and I went down there, I wanted to introduce them to staff and just build some rapport. And I learned at that meeting, for some reason, we went to this slurry mix, almost like Route 29 on these secondary roads. And that doesn't allow your dollars to go further. You only get probably 200-some thousand a year to put in a bucket of each road you approve. And that's why the 6-year plan could look like a 20-year plan. So going to rural rustic, it's basically your chip and tar, hard surfacing. An example, if you want to drive, of a recent one is it Duet? Yes. Duet Road. Whippoorwill, excuse me. You go up Duet, like going towards Shenandoah Springs, and you make a right on Whippoorwill, and you can see portions of that road. So it allows you to stretch the dollar further. VDOT had some roads that they would recommend. Rochelle School Lane, again, this is in your packet. Tustin Lane was one that we both talked about. Is that White's Lane or Wright's Lane? White's Lane. Okay, so there is a White's Lane. Okay.
It's very short. I think there's only like 2 houses on it.
Huh. So, yeah, so they have that on there. Buggy Lane, Willis Ford, Race Ground Road, which that's off Route 231. Russ Jones, we just talked about. Great Oaks, that's off of Ridgeview. Trinity Lane, which I believe that's off Wolftown Hood Road. And then Riverview Lane, which again is off Wolftown Hood Road. So those are some additional roads. So between what we gave them and they suggested, we've asked them to go, when you look at your 6-year plan, that has your traffic count and things in it. So we've asked them to look at that, tell us what qualifies, what you recommend, so I can get that to the Board of Supervisors, and then you can decide to set your public hearing.
And then, obviously, all of us on the board, we, take feedback from any citizens in the county that you might have suggestions from. That's where a lot of it has come in the past.
And what I need to do this year, I've traditionally done it, I don't know why I haven't, I'd reach out to schools and sheriff, because the schools use the roads probably more than anybody, as well as deputies patrolling, just to see if they have any recommendation. I'll do that.
All right.
Jonathan, not to drag up a ghost from the past, but I don't know what happened, but remember, and Cardi and I were out there, the Turner Road, and how we were looking at it, possibly recommending extension of the paving project, but you had to get all the right-of-ways. I don't know whatever became of all that.
What I will do is I'll ask Ms. Shepherd to be prepared to give a recap of that at the next meeting, because that's gonna, there's some level of detail that she can provide. I think when that was looked at, they did some initial surveying, but I don't think they went as far as look at because it's not just widening the road, you'd have to develop easements for drainage. So I'll ask Carrie, she's coming on March 10th, I believe, meeting. So if that's fine, I could either ask for her, I can either ask her to provide a detail before March 10th or have her be available to speak to that on March 10th.
That's when she comes with her quarterly report, is it?
Correct.
On March 10th, okay. Yeah, if she could. update
So
us on that.
I'll ask her to speak to details on that. I do know that the General Assembly, I believe it was last year or the year before last, they did pass legislation where your telephone fees or maintenance fees is not just strictly a 6-year plan. Now, you only get a little bit of it. That's why you generally tie it to your 6-year plan. But you could use some of those funding allocations for things such as road widening or other projects. It's not the same as revenue share. There are other programs that the county wanted to consider. I think they're like 50-50 matches. So if you wanted to do a revenue share, if they came back and said, hey, it's $4 million to do this project, the county would have to come up with $2 million to do that.
Well, I think, I'm pretty sure you're in agreement with me. I think we ought to find out about Turner Drive.
Right.
We went out there, it needs to be done. Those people were very cooperative with us.
Yeah, and I just wonder whatever happened to
Right,
all that.
okay.
Yeah, the first part that did qualify, that is on your, it's already in your current approved 6-year plan. It's that remaining probably 0.3 miles that you're referring to.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time reading that chart that's in our packet.
We'll see if we can get that. Yeah.
But,
a little more
just
legible.
for the board's knowledge, last year, we approved the 6-year plan, the first meeting in May. And I think that's typically when we've done it.
It's generally around then. You'll get a draft, sometime. They'll come speak to you generally early spring, so March or
Right.
April, and then you hold your public hearing based on that. Because I think we added Emmett Road, you've added some roads, taken some off. So there's generally that first discussion you have with them, and you try to lock that in to set your public hearing.
It sounds good.
I think we ought to stick with the first meeting in May if we can. That'll give us time to hear from citizens about stuff they might want to see, as we talk it up, and give Jonathan time to accumulate to assemble the information from VDOT. I don't see the rush.
Yeah, I just definitely would not pick that later June date. I
Right.
think that's too late.
So what do y'all think, the first meeting in May is the
so.
target for approving it? Okay.
And Jonathan, could you also, I almost hate to ask, but could you ask Ms. Shepherd to possibly give us an update on Route 230 repaving?
Absolutely. We'll do that.
I don't know whether they remember Route 230, but. it
Yeah, I think
needs
the
attention.
last we talked about it, it's been some time ago. Like, I think it was calendar year 2027, but we'll ask her about that.
All right. Anything further on that, Mr. Weekly?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
All right, anything further from the board this evening?
Had a productive evening.
Yeah, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we adjourn.
All right,
Second.
we have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor, further discussion? Further discussion is there any public comment? You better sit there, Jim. Because I'm out of line. Okay, so during further discussion, we ascertained that there was no further public discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
You mind if I reach over here and jerk that joker out of there?
Help yourself, sir. Does your chair?
What's that? By telling you
Yeah.
It does.
to shut up?
It just does all kinds of things, doesn't it?
Oh, man.
All right,
yeah.
come here.
My